Motorbike gears are a fundamental part of a motorcycle's transmission system. They allow the rider to control the bike's speed, torque, and overall performance in varying conditions. Understanding how gears work is essential not only for safe riding but also for maintaining optimal engine efficiency and fuel consumption. While motorcycles often have manual transmissions, requiring the rider to shift gears using the clutch and gear lever, modern motorcycles may also feature semi-automatic or automatic transmissions. Despite the differences, the basic principles of gear function and usage remain consistent. Definition of motorbike gears. Motorbike gears are mechanical components inside the gearbox that transfer power from the engine to the wheels. They allow the motorcycle to adapt engine speed to road conditions, providing the appropriate combination of torque and velocity. Each gear has a specific ratio, which determines how many rotations of the engine are required to rotate the rear wheel once. Lower gears produce high torque at low speeds, which is essential for starting and climbing, while higher gears reduce torque but increase speed, which is ideal for cruising. Key elements related to gear operation include the gear lever, used to change gears, the clutch, which temporarily disconnects the engine from the gearbox during shifts, the transmission shaft, which houses the gears and transfers power, and the final drive, which connects the gearbox output to the rear wheel, usually via a chain, belt, or shaft. There is more to shifting gears than simply getting the motorcycle to accelerate smoothly. Sloppy shifting can cause crashes when downshifting, turning, or starting on hills. The purpose of the gears in a motorcycle transmission is to match the engine's speed, measured by the tachometer, with the motorcycle's road speed, measured by the speedometer in km/h or mph. On most bikes, neutral is located between first and second gear. Always start and shut off your bike in neutral. When starting off from a standstill, you must shift the transmission up through the gears so that the engine is able to maintain the motorcycle's road speed without turning too fast. Your motorcycle owner's manual has information on the range of engine speeds at which the motorcycle was designed to be operated. The proper gear will also permit the engine to provide sufficient power for the bike to accelerate if necessary. When slowing down in traffic, or for road conditions, you must shift down through the gears until an appropriate match is obtained between engine and road speed. Remember to shift up when the engine is turning too fast for the road speed and to shift down when the engine is turning too slowly. Shifting down is more difficult to do smoothly than shifting up, and potentially more dangerous. You must open the throttle slightly to increase engine speed as you shift down with the clutch pulled in. If you don't apply enough throttle, the bike will lurch when you release the clutch. Shifting down without having the engine speed up enough to match its speed with the motorcycle's speed may cause the rear wheel to skid. Shifting in a turn. If downshifting is required, ensure it is done prior to the turn. Do not upshift in a turn unless you can do it very smoothly. A sudden change in power to the rear wheel can cause it to lock or lose traction. The result can be a skid. It is best to change gears before entering a turn. Starting on a hill. It's more difficult to get the motorcycle moving on an upgrade than it is on flat ground. There is always a danger of rolling backward into someone behind you. Here is what you have to do. Use the front brake to hold the motorcycle while you start the engine and shift into first gear. Change to the foot brake to hold the cycle while you operate the throttle with your right hand. Open the throttle a little bit for more power. Release the clutch gradually. If you release it too quickly, the front wheel may come off the ground or the engine may stop, or both. Release the foot brake when the engine begins to take hold. Types of motorbike gears and their differences. Motorcycle gears can be categorized based on function and speed ratios. Most motorcycles use a sequential gearbox with 5 or 6 gears. The first gear is used primarily for starting the bike from a standstill and for low-speed maneuvering. It delivers high torque but allows only low speed. The second gear continues the acceleration process, offering moderate torque while increasing speed. The third and fourth gears provide a balance between torque and speed, making them suitable for city riding and general use. The fifth and sixth gears are designed for high-speed cruising, reducing engine strain and improving fuel efficiency by delivering low torque at high speed. Low gears, such as the first and second, provide the engine with the power needed to overcome resistance, making them ideal for climbing hills or starting from a stop. Middle gears are best for everyday urban riding, providing a balance of speed and power, while high gears are designed for sustained high-speed travel with minimal fuel consumption. Another important distinction exists between manual and automatic gear systems. Manual gearboxes give the rider full control over shifting, which is preferred for sports or off-road motorcycles. Automatic or semi-automatic gearboxes shift gears without rider input, simplifying city riding but offering less direct control. How motorcycle gears work. Motorcycle gears function by altering the ratio between engine speed and wheel speed. This allows the rider to adjust power output to match the terrain and load conditions. When the engine generates rotational power, it is transmitted to the clutch. The clutch temporarily disconnects the engine from the gearbox, enabling the rider to shift gears smoothly. Once a gear is engaged, the transmission shaft sends power through the final drive to the rear wheel. For example, in the first gear, the ratio may be 3:1, meaning the engine must rotate 3 times to rotate the wheel once, delivering high torque at low speed. In contrast, in the fifth gear, the ratio is closer to 1:1, meaning the engine rotates once per wheel rotation, producing low torque but high speed. This step-by-step variation of ratios ensures that the motorcycle can accelerate, climb, or cruise efficiently without overloading the engine. Usage of motorcycle gears. Correct usage of motorcycle gears is essential for control, safety, and performance. When starting from a standstill or moving at very low speeds, the first gear is used. The rider gradually releases the clutch while applying throttle to achieve smooth acceleration. Once the bike gains speed, shifting to the second gear allows further acceleration without straining the engine. During city riding, second and third gears are most commonly used, as they are suitable for stop-and-go traffic while maintaining moderate engine speeds. Shifting too aggressively or staying too long in a low gear can reduce fuel efficiency and cause unnecessary wear. On highways, fourth, fifth, or sixth gears are used to maintain high speeds while keeping engine revolutions low, thereby enhancing fuel efficiency and reducing mechanical stress. Downshifting is important before overtaking or climbing hills to provide additional torque. Similarly, riders often downshift before curves to maintain better control over the motorcycle. Using a gear that is too high at low speed can cause the engine to stall, while staying in a lower gear at high speed can strain the engine and increase fuel consumption. Tips for effective gear management. Listening to the engine is one of the most effective ways to know when to shift. The rider should shift up when the engine is running at high RPM and shift down when the speed drops too low to maintain control. Smooth clutch engagement is critical to avoid jerking motions, which can affect balance and comfort. Anticipating road conditions, such as upcoming hills, curves, or traffic stops, helps in selecting the correct gear in advance, reducing the need for sudden shifts. Practicing sequential gear shifting ensures smoother rides and prevents excessive wear on the gearbox and clutch. Finally, maintaining the gearbox and changing the transmission oil regularly prolongs gear life and ensures consistent performance. Motorcycles, commonly referred to as motorbikes, come with a gear system that allows the rider to control speed and engine performance efficiently. Most motorcycles are equipped with a manual transmission, meaning the rider must shift gears using a foot-operated lever. The number of gears on a motorbike can vary depending on its type and design. Standard motorcycles often have 5 or 6 gears, with first gear used for starting from a stop and higher gears for increasing speed smoothly. Some smaller or older bikes might only have 4 gears, while sport and touring bikes usually feature 6 gears to provide better performance at high speeds. The purpose of having multiple gears is to match the engine's power output to the bike's speed and riding conditions. Lower gears, like first and second, provide higher torque and allow the bike to accelerate from a standstill or climb steep inclines. Middle gears, such as third and fourth, are used for moderate speeds, balancing acceleration and fuel efficiency. Higher gears, such as fifth and sixth, are designed for cruising at high speeds with reduced engine strain, improving fuel efficiency and minimizing engine wear. Some advanced motorcycles even offer semi-automatic or automatic transmissions, but manual gear systems remain the most common. It's also important to note that the exact number of gears can differ based on motorcycle type. Scooters often have automatic continuously variable transmissions, CVTs, and don't have traditional gears, while off-road or dirt bikes may have closer ratio gears to provide precise control over speed and torque. Sport bikes are tuned for rapid acceleration and top speed, so the gear ratios are optimized differently than in commuter or touring motorcycles. Overall, the typical range for motorcycle gears is 4 to 6 gears, with variations depending on the engine size, purpose, and design of the bike. Motorcycle gear is one of the most important components in the motorcycle engine, which is mainly responsible for transmitting power and controlling the running speed of the engine. Engine gears are generally made of steel or alloy materials, and its materials must have high strength and high wear resistance. The main structure of motorcycle gears includes gears, shafts, bearings, and boxes. The gear is a key component that transmits power and motion, and through meshing transmission, the incoming motion and power are transmitted to the shaft. The shaft is the main component that supports and transmits the torque, which is fixed in the box by bearings. The bearing is the moving part that connects the shaft and the box, and plays the role of support like motorcycle frame and lubrication during movement. The enclosure is the component that mounts and holds gears, shafts and bearings, and at the same time acts as a seal and protects the internal mechanism. Motorcycle front and rear gears. The function of motorcycle gears is mainly to drive the rear wheels to rotate and push the motorcycle forward. Motorcycle front gear. The gear on the front wheel of the motorcycle is called the sprocket wheel or front gear. The front gear is driven by the gear on the engine crankshaft, connected to the rear gear through the motorcycle chain, thereby driving the rear wheel to rotate. The size of the front gear will affect the starting force and maximum speed of the vehicle. The larger the front gear, the better the acceleration performance of the motorcycle. Motorcycle rear gear. The gear on the rear wheel of the motorcycle is called the gear or rear gear. The rear gear receives power from the front gear, and transmits power to the rear wheel, pushing the motorcycle forward. The size of the rear gear will also affect the acceleration performance and maximum speed of the motorcycle. The larger the rear gear, the worse the acceleration performance of the motorcycle, but the maximum speed will be higher. The working principle of motorcycle gear. Engine gears work on the principle that power is transmitted through gears meshing with each other. Different gear combinations can produce different gear ratios, resulting in different engine speeds. During engine operation, the gears are subjected to huge loads, so it is necessary to maintain a good lubrication state to reduce wear and extend the service life of the gears. The motorcycle gears are in operation, and the input torque and motion are transmitted to the shaft through the meshing gear pairs. Different gear pairs can change torque and speed, allowing the motorcycle to accelerate, decelerate, and reverse. What are the types of motorcycle gears? There are many types of engine gears, ranging from small motorcycles to large and heavy locomotives. Among them, the most common are automotive-style gears, also known as cylindrical gears. Automotive gears are usually made of steel and are mainly used to transmit power with high torque and high speed. In addition, there are different types of gears, such as helical, bevel and helical gears, which have their own characteristics and have different applications in motorcycle engines. Otherwise, it also has the impact on. The service life of engine gear is closely related to its material quality, gear design and machining accuracy, gear lubrication status and other factors. Therefore, motorcycle engine gears need to be checked and maintained regularly to ensure that they are in good working condition. Regular motorcycle maintenance is needed. Generally speaking, the lubrication state of the gear has a great impact on its service life. Engine gears need to be lubricated with specific gear oils during use to ensure the normal operation of the gears. Otherwise, it also has an impact on motorcycle shock absorber. The motorcycle gear system is like the heart of power transmission. It works in a deceptively simple way, but it contains profound principles that require skill and practice to master. A motorcycle is usually equipped with multiple gears, including multiple gears and reverse gears. Each gear has its own unique purpose and is designed to adapt to different driving situations. Understanding how a motorcycle's gear system works is the first step in mastering gear shifting. The task of the gear system is to transfer the power of the engine to the rear wheels, which propel the motorcycle forward. During riding, the task of the gear system is to transfer power to the rear wheels by switching different gears and adjusting the speed of the engine. In this way, the rider can get the right power delivery at different speeds and situations. To know the working principle of motorcycle cooling system. The basic steps of a motorcycle's gear shift are achieved through clutch and gear selection. Proper execution of these steps is essential for a smooth ride. Using the clutch lever in your left hand, pull the clutch all the way down. This separates the engine from the gearing system, so that the engine no longer transmits power to the rear wheels. Using the lever on your left foot, switch the gear from the current gear to the desired gear. Generally, this can be done by pushing the lever up or down. Release the clutch lever and gradually connect the engine and gear system to ensure smooth operation and avoid stalling or jolting. Refueling, as the clutch is gradually released, gradually increases the throttle to speed up the motorcycle. These basic steps form the basis of the motorcycle's gear shifting. Improving your motorcycle gear shifting skills takes time, patience, and practice. But once you've mastered these basic skills, you'll be able to drive your motorcycle more smoothly and safely, while improving fuel economy and driving pleasure. Don't overlook this key skill, it will bring a huge improvement to your riding experience. Motorcycle gear shifting is both a technology and an art. Not only is it an essential skill for motorcycle riders, but it also improves riding comfort, safety, and fuel economy. As one of the most important components of the engine, the quality and working condition of the motorcycle gear directly affects the overall performance and life of the engine. For motorcyclists, understanding the fundamentals and maintenance methods of engine gears can better protect their motorcycles and extend their lifespan. A motorcycle transmission is a transmission created specifically for motorcycle applications. They may also be found in use on other light vehicles such as motor tricycles and quad bikes, go-karts, off-road buggies, auto rickshaws, mowers, and other utility vehicles, microcars, and even some super light racing cars. Manual gearing. Most manual transmission two-wheelers use a sequential gearbox. Most motorcycles, except scooters, change gears, of which they increasingly have 5 or 6, by a foot shift lever. On a typical motorcycle, either first or second gear can be directly selected from neutral, but higher gears may only be accessed in order. It is not possible to shift from second gear to fourth gear without shifting through third gear. A 5-speed of this configuration would be known as 1 down, 4 up because of the placement of the gears with relation to neutral, though some motorcycle gearboxes and slash or shift mechanisms can be reversed so that a 1 up, 4 down shifting pattern can be used. Neutral is to be found half a click away from first and second gears, so shifting directly between the two gears can be made in a single movement. Automatic. Fully automatic transmissions are far less common on motorcycles than manuals, and are mostly found only on motor scooters, mopeds, underbones, mini bikes, and some custom cruisers and exotic sports bikes. Types include hydraulic automatic transmission, continuously variable transmission, and dual clutch automatic transmissions. Semi-automatic. Semi-automatic transmissions on motorcycles are also referred to as auto-clutch transmissions, or sometimes, clutchless manual transmissions. They function in the same way as a conventional fully manual motorcycle with a sequential gearbox, except they utilize a fully automatic clutch system, or sometimes torque converter, but still require the rider's input to manually actuate change gears. They are much less common than motorcycles with conventional manual transmissions, typically use a centrifugal clutch, and are mostly found on smaller motorcycles, such as mini bikes, underbone, step-through, motorcycles, example the Honda Super Cub, smaller dirt bikes, such as pit bikes, and various, mostly older, mopeds and motor scooters. Semi-automatic transmissions are often erroneously called automatic transmissions, which is only partially correct but not fully correct, since the rider's input is still required for switching gears, and these transmissions will not automatically change gears by themselves. Other applications of semi-automatic transmissions on motorcycles include the Yamaha FJR 1300 AE Sport Touring motorcycle, with the YCCS automatic clutch system, Honda's range of 2- and 3-speed Honda-matic semi-automatic transmissions, used on various motorcycles throughout the 1970s and 1980s, and the 3-wheeled BRP Can-Am Spyder Roadster motorcycle, with its SE5 and SE6 range of transmissions. Some high-performance sport bikes also use a trigger shift system, with a handlebar-mounted trigger, paddle, switch, or button, and an automatically operated clutch system. Quick shifters are electronic devices that allow for clutchless upshifts, and usually downshifts, on high-performance motorcycles with a standard manual transmission. An ECU works in conjunction with a sensor and a microcontroller, CPU, to cut the ignition and or fuel injection momentarily, so the rider can switch gears. Bidirectional quick shifters are technically considered semi-automatic since clutch actuation isn't required whatsoever. However, monodirectional quick shifters, such as those used on the 2016 Kawasaki Ninja ZX-10R and the Ninja H2/R, only work on upshifts, and the rider still has to manually actuate the clutch and blip the throttle on downshifts, so it's not really semi-automatic, in that sense. Reverse gear. The weight of the largest touring motorcycles, sometimes in excess of 360 kilograms or 800 pounds, is sometimes such that they cannot effectively be pushed backwards by a seated rider, and they are fitted with a reverse gear as standard. In some cases, including the Honda Goldwing and BMW K1200 LT, this is not really a reverse gear, but a feature of the starter motor which when reversed, performs the same function. To avoid accidental operation, the reverse is often engaged using an entirely separate control switch, example a pull toggle at the head of the fuel tank, when the main gear shift is in neutral. Shift control. In earlier times, pre-World War II, hand-operated gear changes were common, with a lever provided to the side of the fuel tank, above the rider's leg. British and many other motorcycles after World War II used a lever on the right, with the brake on the left, but today gear changing is standardized on a foot-operated lever to the left. Scooters, underbones, and miniatures. Traditional scooters, such as the Vespa, still have manual gear changing by a twist grip on the left-hand side of the handlebar, with a co-rotated clutch lever. Modern scooters were often fitted with a throttle-controlled continuously variable transmission, thus earning the term twist and go. Underbone and miniature motorcycles often have a 3 to 5-speed foot shift lever, but the clutch is automatic, usually a centrifugal clutch. This type of clutchless, no manual clutch, transmission still must have the gears shifted manually by the rider, and the system is commonly known as a semi-automatic transmission. The clutch in a manual shift motorcycle transmission is typically an arrangement of plates stacked in alternating fashion, one geared on the inside to the engine and the next geared on the outside to the transmission input shaft. Whether wet, rotating in engine oil, or dry, the plates are squeezed together by springs, causing friction build-up between the plates until they rotate as a single unit, driving the transmission directly. A lever on the handlebar exploits mechanical advantage through a cable or hydraulic arrangement to release the clutch spring, allowing the engine to freewheel with respect to the transmission. Automatic and semi-automatic transmissions typically use a centrifugal clutch which operates in a different fashion. At idle, the engine is disconnected from the gearbox input shaft, allowing both it and the bike to freewheel. Unlike torque converter automatics, there is no idle creep with a properly adjusted centrifugal clutch. As the throttle is opened and engine speed rises, counterweights attached to movable inner friction surfaces, connected to the engine shaft, within the clutch assembly are thrown gradually further outwards, until they start to make contact with the inside of the outer housing, connected to the gearbox shaft, and transmit an increasing amount of engine power. The effective bite point is found automatically by equilibrium, where the power being transmitted through the, still slipping, clutch is equal to what the engine can provide. This allows relatively fast full throttle takeoffs, with the clutch adjusted so the engine will be turning near its maximum torque RPM, without the engine slowing or bogging down, as well as more relaxed starts and low-speed maneuvers at lower throttle settings and RPMs. Above a certain engine speed, when the bike is properly in motion, so the gearbox input shaft is also rotating quickly and so allowing the engine to accelerate further by way of clutch slip, the outward pressure of the weighted friction plates is sufficient that the clutch will enter full lockup, the same as a conventional plate clutch with a fully released lever or pedal. After this, there is no clutch slip, and the engine is locked to and providing all of its available power to the transmission. Engine RPM is now dependent on the road speed and the current gear ratio, under either user control in a semi-auto, or reliant on road speed, and sometimes load/throttle position, in a CVT setup. In a typical CVT, the gear ratio will be chosen so the engine can reach and maintain its maximum power speed as soon as possible, or at least, when at full throttle. In a partially load-dependent system, but in a semi-auto, the rider is responsible for this choice, and they can ride around all day in top gear, or first, if they so prefer. Also, when the engine is turning fast enough to lock the clutch, it will stay fully engaged until the RPMs fall below that critical point again, even if the throttle is fully released. Below the lockup point, partially or fully releasing the throttle can lead to the RPM falling off rapidly, thanks to the feedback loop of lower engine speed meaning less friction pressure. This toggle-like mode of operation can lead to certain characteristic centrifugal clutch automatic behavior, such as being able to freewheel rapidly downhill from a standstill, with engine braking only being triggered by turning the throttle briefly, and not then cancelable without braking to quite a slow, gear-dependent pace, and lockup triggering at a lower speed with full versus minimal throttle. Construction. Pre-unit construction, also called separate construction, is a motorcycle engine architecture where the engine and gearbox are separate casings. In unit construction, the engine and gearbox share a single housing. In many modern designs, the engine sits in front of the gearbox. From a sprocket on one side of the crankshaft, a chain or sprocket directly mounted to the clutch will drive the clutch, which can often be found behind a large circular cover on one side of the gearbox. The clutch is connected to the gearbox input shaft. For motorcycles with chain drive, the gearbox output shaft is typically connected to the sprocket which drives the final drive chain. Most modern manual motorcycle gearboxes have constant mesh gears which are always mated but may rotate freely on a shaft until locked by a toothed sliding collar, or dog clutch. Since the gears are always rotating and can only be accessed sequentially, synchromesh is not generally needed. To save space, both shafts may contain a mixture of fixed and free spinning gears, with some gears built into the sliding parts. Motorbike gears are central to the performance, safety, and efficiency of a motorcycle. Understanding the definition, differences, and proper usage of gears allows riders to navigate various terrains, control speed and torque, and extend the life of their engine. From low gears used for starting and climbing to high gears designed for highway cruising, every gear has a specific purpose. Mastery of gear usage is essential for smooth riding, fuel efficiency, and overall riding satisfaction, making it a skill every motorcyclist must develop. Thank you for watching this video.